So this week's Browns game, I think, is going to be a very interesting one, right? It's not only a game against the Ravens, but it's also a pivotal game against the Ravens where the Browns have had 3 weeks really to prepare for the Baltimore Ravens plus a game, right? Where the Baltimore Ravens have had to worry about the Pittsburgh Steelers in between that time. The Browns haven't had that thing. So they have that extra week of preparation. They have that extra week of tape. And with all of those advantages, you would think that this should be a game that if the Browns are anywhere remotely close to being the team that we hope they could become, that this is a game that they should win. But prior performances, both on the offensive side and the defensive side, have just not given us enough trust that they're going to do what they need to do this Sunday. So what's going to happen? How can the Browns make sure they take advantage of this rare opportunity? Well, we're going to talk about that. But before I do, I want to make sure I give a shout out to the Patreon.com Dog Check tier members. I'm going to start with Michael Matique, Cam Vex, Jaleel Salim Jr. and Sr., Caleb Pickering, Benjamin Woods, Michael Terry, Sam28, Wani Boy, Rob Morehouse, Tyler Chiz, Michael Morales, Mark Kahn, Max Haymaker, Nick Merrick, D.A.J., Joe Hart, Gabriel Wilson, Fred Pat III, David Valtiar, Relentless Buck, Rex Kaufman, Kevin Johnson, Cleveland Cart, Matt H, Sign Sheets, Gemini, Leon Freeman, Fight 3074, Chunt, Yo-Yo, Matt Lloyd, Paul Wilcox, Hondo Magnifico, Cal Stoffer, Lukey from Munich, Dave Roth, J Guy 101, Musty Taco, Brad Cowbo, Dylan W, James McGinley, Arendal, Chad Gimme, David Maldonado, Josh Spindor, Austin Rich, Mark M, Stuart Moore, Dylan Hill, Cleveland BCI, Robert Germain, Dave Mike May, Andrew Hirsch, Curtis Bear, Batman, Barack Kumar, John Albert, Beerman 069, Masayua, Butts Roland, Mac House, Reeve Hertz, Philip Wilcoxon, Marie Vivert, Sean Barron, Goggles Pisano, Dom Gazzulo, Nick Nasty, Ian Whitaker, Colin 216, Christian, Dave Strong, Michael Stone, Soul Train, Billy, Moose Gentry, Austin Z, Mark Burnett II, Andre Griffin, Otis Wolf, Dog Pound Kai, Greg Ehlers, Austin Bolin, Lydia Mahawk, Alexander Davis, Chris Falms, Picktown Browns backer, Max Nilakenko, Max Al Dojo, and Water Bear Marketing. Want to tell everybody and make sure everybody is subscribed and notified so they don't miss the live stream this Sunday. Come and watch Browns Ravens with me if you're not able to make it to the game, or even if you are able to make it to the game and you just want to check in on the live stream, come check it out. Make sure you're subscribed and notified so you don't miss it. This game's interesting just because the Browns definitely need to win it, and the Ravens definitely need to win it, right? This is a must-win for both teams. But these are two teams that, that both fan bases just don't trust right now, right? The Baltimore Ravens have had multiple just weird losses throughout this year. As much as they have had weird wins, they have had a ton of weird losses. And Cleveland Browns, no stranger to weird losses, no stranger to weird wins this year. The whole season has been weird for this entire division. Pretty much, but Browns and Ravens, I think specifically just because they had the two highest hopes coming into the season, the weirdness has affected them the most. So that weirdness extends to both sides of the ball. I think there is large disappointment for Raven fans about this offense and a lot of disappointment about this defense, the Ravens defense. And then there's big disappointment by Browns fans about this offense. So let's start with the matchups. We're going to start with the Browns' defensive matchups. Now, the Browns did do a good job versus Lamar Jackson, but this week I think they have to prepare for not getting 4 turnovers, right? Like the fact that the Ravens, I think they had 11 possessions, and I think one of them ended in a score. Tremendous job by the defense, right? But that being said, you're not going to get the privilege of like Lamar throwing 4 interceptions. I know he has not been great as of late, but I just have to assume that Lamar is not going to throw 8 interceptions versus the Cleveland Browns when he has traditionally played very well. I have to expect Lamar to be Lamar in this game. So if that's the case, you can't go in there just expecting Lamar to play like that. Now, what can you do to make Lamar play worse or not as good as he usually does? pressure does help, right? If you pressure Lamar Jackson, two things happen. One, either he has to get rid of the ball quick and throw it to like Hollywood Brown, and then you win because the ball is now out of the hands of the most dynamic player on the Baltimore Ravens, which is Lamar Jackson. Or he holds on to the ball, runs around for a while, and either he makes a play or either you make the play, right? And I think that's the big difference. The Browns gave up two big plays to Mark Andrews because of Lamar Jackson just holding on to the ball, running around, and making guys miss. And quite frankly, guys who had clean sight lines to Lamar Jackson, just not making plays. Jadeveon Clowney missed a tackle. There were several other players that missed plays on Lamar Jackson that allowed that Mark Andrews play to happen. And that's what they need to focus on. Finish these plays. If you get back there, finish the play, make a play, affect the play, bat it down, do something to make sure that he can't make the play. Lamar Jackson on this Baltimore Ravens team is the only guy that can hurt you. And I'm not saying that their wide receivers aren't good. Here's what I'm saying when I say Lamar Jackson's the only guy that can hurt you. For them to get the ball to any of those wide receivers, it needs to be going through Lamar Jackson, right? For the run game to go for the Baltimore Ravens, it has to go through Lamar Jackson. So when you boil that down, right, Mark Andrews, to get the ball to Mark Andrews, it has to go through Lamar Jackson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We can go on forever. So in order for the Ravens offense to work, it has to go through Lamar Jackson. There are no other options. They're not going to dominate you through one of their running backs because they don't have any of their starting running backs on the roster right now. They're all on injured reserve. So since that is the case, since it all has to go through Lamar Jackson, that is really the only guy that can hurt you. So the game plan should be, what can you do to take the game out of Lamar Jackson's hands? Make somebody else beat you. Make them find a way to make somebody else beat you, but take the game out of Lamar Jackson's hand. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Lamar Jackson is a former MVP for a reason. And part of the reason he's a former MVP is because it's not as easy to take the game out of his hands than just people want it to be, right? But what makes it a lot easier this year to take the game out of Lamar Jackson's hands is that the offensive line is not good. If what I have seen from now, I've mentioned that like zero blitzing, I don't think is like this end all solution versus Lamar that some people want it to be. And I think the reason it's working well this year versus where it hasn't worked well in other years is the offensive line for the Baltimore Ravens is significantly worse than in years past. And a zero blitz this year might get there before he can really react and make a play. But in previous years where you had a better offensive line, a zero blitz might not even get home, which that's just all asking for all kind of trouble. So now that the offensive line is not great for this Ravens team, I do think that if you blitz and if you get aggressive and you get pressure on them, and you can penetrate and make sure you take advantage of that weak offensive line, there are a lot of opportunities to be had there. You got to make those plays, and the Browns did not make those plays despite the fact they have two tremendous athletes on the edge, but they need to make those plays this week, right? That's the biggest thing for this defense, right? Hollywood Brown, he's good. We know Hollywood Brown's good. We know Mark Andrews is good. We know they have good players. I'm not really like doubting their wide receivers or anything, but in order for any of that to get going, Lamar has to be able to feel comfortable. And if you make Lamar feel uncomfortable, you can affect that part of the game because their offensive line just is not what it used to be. So that's probably the biggest thing. Look, we're going to lean heavily this week on Myles Garrett, on Malik McDowell, and on Jadeveon Clowney and their ability to get to quarterback. So that needs to happen. All right, let's talk about this offense. Now, going into this game, one thing that's important, why I waited to do this preview to now, is the Browns won't have David Njoku or Harrison Bryant. Now, while it really does stink not to have David Njoku because I think he's going to be the key for a lot of the Browns' success if they can get it in this year, I I do think this is a nice opportunity to reintroduce this offense, reintroduce this quarterback, reintroduce the offensive coordinator, and reintroduce Kevin Stefanski to this wild concept that, some other NFL teams are deciding to run. It's very experimental. It's this thing called wide receivers. Now, again, the Browns don't have a ton of wide receivers. They're going to run out Donovan Peoples-Jones. I guess Rashard Higgins has to be active this week, right? And what else? Marcus Bradley and Jarvis Landry, right? So it's not like you got like the greatest wide receiver core in the world, but it's enough. It's serviceable. The Baltimore Ravens, who have been down a ton of corners this year, they're now down Marlon Humphreys. So a struggling secondary now is without its best player. Now I know this is going to go against the instinct of a lot of Browns fans. I know we all want to run the ball. I know we want Chubb and Hunt. We want to put Chubb and Hunt back there at the same time. This is not the week for that. Nick Chubb had like 2 yards per carry last week, and they did not have Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell is coming back. Look, we need to just accept this week that we ain't going to be able to run the ball. We weren't able to run it when it was just Brandon Williams down there. I don't think we're going to be able to do it when Calais Campbell, who is a mean run stuffer, is there too, right? Like, it's just what it is, right? You have to take the data that you had last week for something. So running the ball, that's off the window. How are you going to move the ball? Well, it's similar to how you played the Ravens last week, right? What I said before the Browns played the Ravens a couple of weeks ago was that for the Browns to win that game, Baker Mayfield and this passing offense were going to have to make some plays. That did not happen on Sunday. The passing offense, whoever you want to blame it on, I'm over the whole conversation on whose fault it is. The fact of the matter is that the passing offense did not make any plays when it mattered in the red zone and in the end zone, obviously. They didn't score the touchdowns that they needed to. David Njoku, Baker Mayfield got 1 touchdown. I think that's it. So they failed. The passing offense failed and cost the Browns what should have been a win a couple of weeks ago. You can blame whoever you want. I'm really not interested. I really don't care who's at fault because, honestly, it's been such a mess that I don't think it's just one person. So that's what happened the last time the Browns played the Ravens, and that was with Marlon Humphreys. And it wasn't like they were locking up these wide receivers. Like, they were open, just plays weren't being made one way or the other. This week, you're going to have to make plays. Like, the passing game is going to have to win this game. Nick Chubb might be able to save you, but I wouldn't bet on it. He wasn't able to do anything the last time these two teams played. Maybe Kareem Hunt saves you, but I wouldn't bet on it because it just wasn't working last week, the run game. So this time around, we know they have no corners. You got to throw the ball. Like, if you want to win the game, you got to throw the ball. You have to make plays through the air. Are they going to do that? Look, I don't think this offense should be remotely trusted to do anything at a competent level because that's what they've proven that they have been capable of. Nothing competent, but that's what they're going to need. Is this offense going to be able to make 5 plays versus a Ravens secondary that has no starters? That's the question that needs to be answered this week. And if they don't get a good answer this week, a yes answer, more than 20 points answer this week versus this Ravens defense, then we're going to have some tough questions to answer about Baker Mayfield, about Kevin Stefanski, about Alex Van Pelt, and about everybody else on this offense. If you cannot move the ball through the air when the Baltimore Ravens don't have any starters in their secondary. If we're talking about they didn't run the ball more because the passing game was ineffective on Monday, that is a failure on this offense's part because the game plan should be to throw the ball because the Baltimore Ravens don't have any corners. And if you can't throw the ball when the Baltimore Ravens don't have any corners, then I don't know who should be able to stay here long term when it comes to this passing game, but somebody got to go, right? So That's it. I'm not going to come on here on Monday and talk about they should have ran the ball more. If they throw the ball 40 times, that's the right thing to do. If they cannot be successful throwing the ball 40 times, when the Baltimore, and I'm going to repeat this so it's in everybody's head, clearly what I feel about this game. If they cannot throw the ball successfully 40 times versus the Baltimore Ravens, when they have no starting corners, then nobody on this offense associated with this offense deserves to have any protected status on this offense when it comes to next year, when it comes to their spot. That's point blank, period. You have to be able to do this in the NFL. The passing game's going to need to make plays to win this game. And if they can't, they're going to continue to let this team down. And if that continues to happen, questions need to be answered, and those answers are not going to be pretty. But that's what the table is for this week. I hope the Browns offense comes through, but I can't trust them. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. But again, guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day and have a good night.